Hi, I'm Kumar Sangakkara and you're watching
the newest and hottest cricket simulation podcast on the World Wide Web, FTP Weekly, with your host, Leon Stuart. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest ever episode of FTP Lately, with the emphasis on late. I apologise, guys. To be honest, I'm going to start off with I won't call it a sledgehammer swing, more like a jackhammer swing or something like that, something not as brutal. I've been trying to get people to write me tournament results for the Facebook under-18s, as I am extremely busy and can't do it all myself, and there are a few people that have done it, and I must apologise straight up to Troy Marshall. Troy, I know I got you to do all that work and I didn't include it in the podcast. I am sincerely sorry about that, and I know that guys like Glenn, Cameron Jones, Arpit, Kushik, those sort of guys have helped out in the past, but guys, if you want your tournaments covered, you need to help me out. I can't do this all on my own. Anyway, moving on. We had the Facebook elections a few weeks ago now to decide the new president and vice president of the FTP Facebook group. And yours truly is the new president, and I am extremely proud, and I thank everybody who voted for me to get 50% of the first ballot votes in a 6-person race. I think speaks volumes, and I really do appreciate it, guys, so thank you very much. And the assistant, Arpit Agarwal. Arpit, glad to have you on board, mate, as the vice president. I don't think there's anyone else I would have chosen. No offence to the other nominations, some of them were quite good and are friends of mine, but Arpit is the man for me. We won a World Cup with Zimbabwe, so I'm really happy to have him on board. On that note, obviously, it's a sad time with Glenn Muscat no longer being president of the Facebook group, and in a short while he won't be active for a while. Although I don't believe him and think he'll be back very quickly, he assures me that he's going for a while. So this is a little mini tribute, Glenn. I just want to say thank you so much for running the group, for giving me the creative mind to do FTP Weekly. Without you, the show wouldn't be going on now. I really appreciate our friendship, our rivalries on How's That, Cell Shock 2, FIFA. You know what I'm talking about, mate. We have our fights, but that's what best friends do, they fight. So I don't have any beef with you, and for people that think, oh, it's weird that Glenn and Leon are fighting, I don't think it's weird at all. Glenn's done far more for this group than anybody in history, so he deserves a fitting send-off. So from all of us, Glenn, thank you very much for everything you have done for the group. Moving on from the old Glenn to the new. Yes, we have a very new segment. And I think it was Supan who said he wanted me to sing. And to start off this segment, I am going to sing, but it's only the intro that I'm going to sing. And basically, this is like a sledgehammer swing, but it's aimed at people who I can't actually swing the sledgehammer at. Obviously, on Facebook, I can do it. On FTP forums, I can do it. But in real life, if I have an issue with someone, I can't just swing the sledgehammer. That's 20 years jail time. So, this segment is called If Only I Could Swing. Thank you very much. Now, this week's If Only I Could Swing is directed at all the people on Facebook who are writing up about Robin Williams. Now, before I go on, I want to say this, and this is my opinion. Robin Williams, greatest voiceover of all time, an excellent comedian, great actor, and he truly defined his art. But to say that he is a hero and an inspiration, guys, pull your fucking heads in. Seriously. The heroes are the guys that are fighting in wars so that we can sit here and listen to this podcast without having someone that we don't want as our leader, except for Tony Abbott, take over this country. Our heroes are the doctors that are trying to cure cancers so that our family members can live, and that past people that have died from several cancers can have their deaths in vain. These are heroes, not someone who for their job makes us laugh. So that is my first segment of If Only I Could Swing. Now, we're moving on to the Facebook under 18s. Now, based on the lack of reviews that I've been getting, I'm only really going to cover it very lightly this week. And what I want to cover is possibly the biggest game in Facebook under 18 history. That's due to start in a couple hours' time. I'm speaking at 11:45 on FTP time. So by the time this gets released, it's probably already started. The match is between the Creative Bulls and the Southern Scorpions ACC. Both of these teams have won both their games, and the Southern Scorpions are just on top by their superior net run rate. But I reckon whoever wins this will be the champions. So I'm pumped up for it. Bikram's had the edge over me lately, although the last encounter we had, I smashed him on flat. So I'm hoping that momentum moves on and I can get a solid win. And normally I want a good game, but this time I'm happy to bowl him out for 50 and chasing him 5 overs. Welcome to Bottsville, Bikram. The other Facebook groups, I'm going to talk about a little bit later as to why I'm not covering them, but the way I cover Facebook groups is going to change. So now, from changing to never changing, ladies and gentlemen, self-proclaimed comedy with DUm Phing. Oh yes, hello Leon, how are you today? I'm very good, DUm Phing, how are you? Oh, I am so good. I'm going to do something very special for you today, Leon. What's that, DUm Phing? I'm only going to tell you one joke today. One joke? Yes, you always complain that I give you 3 jokes and you get bored. So I give you one joke and then I want to ask Facebook group one question. Okay? Okay. So joke first. Man and his wife working in their garden. One day, the man look at his wife and say, "Your butt getting really big. I mean, really big. I bet your butt bigger than my barbecue." With that, he proceeded to get the measuring tape and measure a grill. Then he measured his wife's bum and said, "Yes, I was right. Your butt is 2 inches wider than a barbecue." The woman chose to ignore her husband. Later that night, in bed, the husband was feeling a little frisky, you know what I'm saying? And he made some advances towards his wife. And she just ignored him, like you ignore me, Leon. But his wife ignored him. And he said, "What's wrong?" he said. She answered, "Do you really think I'm going to fire up this big-ass grill for one little weenie?" That's pretty good, DUm Phing. I don't know. I'm liking this one joke a week routine. Okay, I have a question for Facebook group. So this is hypothetical, obviously, but if you were walking along a river and you wanted to take pictures of the river, and then you see a Mr. Tony Abbott and he's holding on to a branch and the branch is snapping and you know he's not going to make it, but you think to yourself as an amateur photographer, if I get this photo, I could be an award-winning photographer. So here is my question to you. Which camera will you use? I've got to admit, DUm Phing, this week's been pretty good. Keep it up, mate. I'm impressed. Oh, thank you, Leon. Next week, I have 3 good jokes. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's self-proclaimed comedy with DUm Phing. Now, there's a couple other things I want to do before we end the show tonight. Firstly, the future of FTP Weekly. I don't know how many times I have to do this, guys. I've asked for opinions, suggestions, help, and I've been getting very little. So, what I want to do is throw it out there, and hopefully you guys will be listening to this and think, oh, how can I help the show? Because the standard has been cover a couple of tournaments, have DUm Phing, and any issues that have been going on, talk about them. But I don't think that there's enough interest in the tournament coverage, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel it's a lot of time for me and other people that are willing to do it, and I don't think the rewards are there. So let me know what you want with FTP Weekly, and we will see what we can do. Now, we have an interview before we go. This is our last segment, ladies and gentlemen, for the night. Now, as you know, in the past, we had an interview with Glenn Muscat, and we had an interview with Ashario. We had the two big bosses, the former big boss of the FTP Facebook group and the boss of FTP Whole. So we're going to go down a little bit today. We're not going to do a boss, but we are going to talk to an FTP admin. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you via satellite Stuart Bardwaj. Stuart, how are you? Oh yes, hello Leon, how are you today? I'm very good. I want to say tag Cameron Johns. Sorry? I want to tag Cameron Johns in this conversation. You know Cameron Jones does not like that, Shubin. You need to stop being a serial tagging pest. We're not on Facebook right now. Oh, very sorry, Leon. Much forgiveness. Okay, Shubin. Alright, let's get started. I want to say that your rise in FTP Facebook group has been historic. You're the youngest admin we ever had, and you ran for the elections. People want to know what you're about, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Oh, well, yes, thank you very much, Leon. I tell you everything about myself. So my name is Stuart Bardwaj. I am a very young boy. I think I'm Glenn Muscat's grandson, but he won't talk to me, so I don't know. But tag Arpit Agarwal, tag Supan Badwazi. Yes. So that's all you've got to say about yourself. Yes, that's all I've got to say about myself. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, I'm trying to do a big interview here. I'm going to try and create some controversy. What do you think about you not doing so well in the elections? You were towards the bottom. I don't know why people were not voting for me. Tag Wajahat Mohaden, tag Glenn Muscat, tag Cameron Jones. I told you Cameron Jones doesn't want to be tagged. Tag. Alright, we're cutting the feed there. Shubin's obviously in pest mode, so we're going to cut that one off. Thank you very much, Shubin, for giving us your time, I suppose. Anyway, guys, that's FTP Weekly for this week. Next week, I'll go into the Division 1 Facebook games and try and cover them. And we will hopefully have a show next week if everything goes well. Until then, so long.